have document sets on, and we want to turn them into control document sets and add them onto the info exchange. And then as we progress with those jobs, we'll just upgrade them from there. So it's really that's and again, for existing jobs, we need that for the plans app, I suppose, is the main thing. So it is mainly to get jobs visible on the mobile app, but ultimately, like the whole document control thing and the BIM interface and everything, I don't know that we've got time allocated for today for that, Mark.
All right. Well, how much time do we have allocated? Because that of course is even a concern for me, as I'm in India at the moment.
How much time you got?
Well, I've got an hour. I could go an hour and a half. I'd prefer to keep it to about an hour and 15 minutes. And there is a fair amount because document control, and I'm going ahead and sharing my screen at this point. Document control also connects with your Revit models. So if Revit is going to be part of the equation, we'd also want to address the project information link at some point. Now, we don't have to do that today, but I want to give you a heads up on that because it's pretty powerful functionality and is a big time saver.
Yeah. Some of the guys in the room work in the civil department, which doesn't use Revit, just AutoCAD. But,
all right.
We will want, so you can leave that off for today, I suppose, but we probably want some training on that, sometime in the next week and a bit.
All right. Well then, let me start with the simplest.
Are you going to record? You're going to record this, Mark?
I did. I meant to mention to you. I went ahead and started it. Absolutely.
Okay. Thanks.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Well, I'll start with the simplest part of it then. If we go into document control, I'm going to go to Eldridge. I think that's where I have that BIM stuff. Is that the one? No, I think it's over here in Fowler. Okay, so if I go in here, I regularly use this for demoing this. So let me select all these, and I'm going to delete these. So these are empty record documents. So we call each record document, we call each document that we add in document control a record document. It doesn't matter what it is, a shop drawing, a tender drawing, a construction drawing, whatever you want, whatever you need to add out that you're going to have different issuances of. And to add one in, okay, and it starts off as just a drawing list. To add one in, you just say add a record document up there on your task menu. Put in a number, so I'm just going to call it 0123, and just new title, whatever the title is, doesn't really matter, and say OK. So that adds one in. Now, obviously, doing that 100 or 1,000 times would be extremely tedious, so we don't want you to do that. I use, typically, if I'm not connecting to Revit, I like to use Edit in Spreadsheet because it allows me to modify the sheets based on what's in here. So I always do come in and add one manually first, and that way when I hit Edit in Spreadsheet, it opens up the list, and I can now add to it. And I have to drag that down to the bottom and then just put in my documents, whatever they might be. So it could be sheet A201, so on. And then drag that down, whatever it might be, and those are, floor plans. Probably have to specify, but if you're copy pasting then from a list that you already have, then it's not so difficult. All right, and that will then, and I can put in other information in the metadata with it as well, but just to give you a quick example of using, once you close and save your spreadsheet, it then adds in that information. Okay, so it's a quick way of then filling this in. Okay. Now, in the other case that you might have where you're not going to be as formalized with issuing out those documents, and I'll show you how we add those documents in just a moment, but I actually jumped ahead of what I meant to show you, Glenn. If all you're trying to do is add drawings into this so that they show up in your Plans app, you can simply choose the Add Revisions from Files, go to where the files are, so you can add an entire folder or go select specific files. It'll open the project scope. Choose that location. In this project, good heavens, I think I have some here. And then let's say I need all the floor plans. Of course, I can add everything that if I want, but I'm going to grab these floor plans, say open. Now, because I don't have any record documents listed here, you know how I just added in that list. So even without the list, that doesn't matter. I can just go ahead. I can't link these to a listed drawing because the name of your file doesn't necessarily reflect the sheet number and title of the sheet. So I can just select all of those and say create them. So that's a really fast way, and then just add them in. So you can make some modifications if you don't want it to show 00. Maybe it's a DD. Maybe it's simply something like a DD75. I can add that in. I'm going to leave the today's date on this computer, add it in. All right. And so it adds it in with the file name. Now, I can modify this further if I want so that I also have the title. However you want to do that. I usually do recommend that because what'll be strange is you're only going to have this showing up under the number, and it's nice to see the title in there. So I usually will tweak this. But even if you don't do anything else to it, even without issuing these, you as an internal New Forma Project Center user will be able to see these in your mobile apps now. Now, what does it take for it to show up in your mobile app? Well, I have it here in document control, but that doesn't mean I'll necessarily see it. There are a few caveats. One, document control or record documents needs to be activated on your projects. You need to be on the project team, of course, and you need to have Info Exchange access with a permission set that gives you access. In your projects, you can click on Set Mobile Apps, Set Up for Mobile Apps, and it'll tell you what's good to go or what's not. So New Forma mobile apps do not require any changes to your project settings. The following activity centers are already enabled and available on Info Exchange. Action items, so document control is listed there. So it does show that it's enabled. If you have any questions on that, any project administrator, which means a global administrator, or anyone that has the rights to edit the project settings for this project can look at those settings. And of course, in activities, I need to have document control available. And on Info Exchange, I need to have document control or record documents on Info Exchange. So the record documents have to be available. Okay. So as long as those requirements are met, then we'll be good, and it's available on Info Exchange. For the project.
Okay, Mark. So typically.
Yeah, go ahead.
Typically, when we're about to start construction on a job, and we hand it over to our contract admin guys, we probably want to create record documents because drawings issues can change throughout the construction phase. So
correct.
We'll just start with the current issues that we'll have no, New Forma won't know of any back issues, but that's probably not a big deal for us for those sorts of jobs.
Well, yeah, that's up to you. You can. Go ahead.
So you can, on that, when you edit the spreadsheet, you can just put the current issue number in there, can't you?
That's correct. Absolutely. I mean, you could go through and issue out all of the previous issues and just backdate them. So it would allow you to do that. And then in order for external team members to see them, you do need to note that they have to be issued. So only your NPC users are gonna have access to anything that's in a draft mode. Only once we go in and issue these, and that revision state turns to issued, will they have access. So you have to actually send them out through Info Exchange in order to make that particular set accessible to external users. Okay, so in that, and again, you could just issue to yourself. So I'm logged in as Howard here. I could just issue to Howard, and then that would be available to anyone who's given access to record documents.
Okay.
Now, with record documents, I should note to you, it's an all or nothing deal when you give access to record documents on Info Exchange. So hang on, my cap locks are on. And I'm jumping around a little bit here, but since you asked the question, I want to go ahead and address this. So when they are given access to record documents, they'll be able to view them on Info Exchange, and they'll be able to view the packages that you've issued. So you definitely want to utilize packages. It makes it easier to download the sets, and I'll show you packages in just a moment. But that full set becomes available. Now, Howard can see these drafts because, and this is a different project, mind you. I'll flip over to the other one in a moment. Howard can see the drafts because he's internal, but an external user would not. They'd only be able to see the ones that are issued. But it is in all or nothing. So if you're issuing out different types of drawings, construction drawings, shop drawings, those would be available to anyone that you give full access to record documents, because it's either on or off for all users.
So Justin will be right, he'll be able to see everything.
Yeah, so typically we would say the site foreman would make him part of the project team so he can access the current documents through Info Exchange. That would be how you'd make it available to him.
And you'll need to provide him with an appropriate permission set. So the permission sets are set in Project Center Administration, which you might also know through this tool if you're an administrator. So if we go to Project Center Administration, we'll have to add in that additional permission set. Now, your system comes with two permission sets. To start off with, the internal and external one, and we normally rename internal and call it your company name users. Okay, so I'm pretty sure we've done that on your system. And then external users, that permission set does not by default provide access to record documents, so you'd want to actually add a similar one. So this is a demo system, so there's a lot of different ones on here. I would choose that default external one, and I would add similar, and then I would call it external user with record documents. And then access to all activities the member is party to, plus record documents. And that's the only additional one I'll turn on. Now, in this permission set, it's probably already on, but in any case, you'll have to come on and go to record documents, select that, modify it, and then turn it on. So you can see it's either do not show any or show all. And in your external permission set, it will already be off. Someone changed this one to turn it on, and I was already aware that that was the case. I haven't switched it back because I don't want to affect any other users. But by default, it is turned off. And I think that's appropriate. So given the nature of it, that it's either all or nothing. Any questions on that?
No, I think that's straightforward enough. So I think for our larger contract docs, we do record documents, but for quick and easy footings, morgues, we might just make, they can just get dumped in as just add a folder. It's only where you've got external parties like contractors and other consultants accessing them, you'd want record documents. But if it's only internal, us, it's nothing to do with the other. Sounds like you picked up some sort of a virus.
I did. I apologize. I got a cold. It just that happens sometimes, and my apologies. I don't feel that bad. It's making me froggy.
Okay, so it's the same thing. Like we have drawings, but we also have, say, just Word documents that are reports, and it's the same process with them. If you're going to have an issue out of them, you create a record document and attach a file to it.
Yeah, that's correct. Now, and I'd like to back up because I wanted to show you the quick, easy way to add these in, but I'd like to return to that formal issuance now, show you some of the tools that exist with that. Shall we go through that? So let me delete these. I haven't issued them out. I'm just going to delete them as record documents. So now let's go through formally issuing things out, because that was the quick and dirty way of just getting some drawings in here really quick so you can go out to the site with them. But normally you're going to want to, at least myself as someone who takes delivering the documents very seriously, I want that full list in here. And so again, add a record document, whatever that number is. And then typically somewhere I'll already have a spreadsheet that has the list of the documents that are going to need to be delivered. So I think I have one on my desktop, at least I hope I do. I didn't check. I switched my demo recently, so I can't recall if I put it on or not. Let's see. And I don't want to show the Revit synchronization, so I'm going to go over. I'll show you how to export a drawing list. Let's see what I have in here. This will work. So I'm going to pull those out. So I haven't issued those. I'm going to go ahead and just delete those. And I'm going to export this drawing list. So let me go back over. All right, so now I'm going to edit in spreadsheet. All right, and I can go ahead and put my sheet information in. So I'll keep it fairly simple, but I'll go to that desktop and I'll open up that list that I have. So whoever prepared what your deliverables are for the contract, or what the issuances will be for the contract, rather, whoops, then you can go ahead and add that in. And you can add other information, but I'll leave that to your discretion. So I've added those in. Now at the bottom of that list, I have to put, this is just a convention of using an import table like this. I have to have the top of the table and the bottom of the table, because I have fields that relate to that table going across in the table. So it has to be identified. So I need to move that. So I'll copy that and put it down at the bottom here. and then I'll just delete the extraneous stuff up here. Now I could change this to something else, so I could edit that. So let's see, just to sort of show you can also edit things, and I'll delete this. All right, and we'll go ahead and close and save this. So save it. And we don't need this now, so I'll close that. And then in order to import it, you have to click OK, and then that'll just import it. So that way you have a formal way of dealing with it. You don't have to spend the time here. It's quicker to do it in Excel. You can see it edited the existing sheet, and then it added in the others. So I'm going to delete that placeholder that I had created. All right. And you have your sheets in here. Again, you can add in all the additional metadata that you need. You can add additional fields. If you don't see the fields already here at the top of your columns and you need to track something else regarding your sheets, you can. It's going to be called an extended property, and you can edit the extended properties and add those in. Okay, so that is one nice thing about this activity. You can customize that. And now, for the sheets, once they're in here, you're going to want to add those in. So if you're given a set of documents, you add in that list. You can take the drawings that have been issued and just say add revisions from files. That was the same tool that we used before to quick and dirty add in a bunch of drawings, but now we're going to add them to that specific record document. So we want to relate each drawing to those. So you can again, click Add Files or Folder, okay? And there's that design development. So instead, I'll say Add Folder. I know I'm going to add all of those, so I'll add that folder location and OK. All right, and there they are. Now I can add these one by one. I can simply drag it down and connect it like that, but that can be time-consuming for hundreds of drawings, okay? So we provide a tool that will rationalize this. If it can see the number in the title of the sheet, it will usually be able to automatically link it. If it has trouble doing that, you can use the advanced linking functionality, but try the auto linking first and then just verify your sheets, okay? So all right, so I'm going to test the auto link, say auto link. And then because it's able to align those, it's fairly rationalized, sheet numbers with sheet numbers showing up clearly, it's able to find those. Now for some reason, just 102 isn't in there, so that's fine, we're not issuing that yet. And 221 and 301 haven't been created, so I could then create those and edit those later. For expediency, I'll skip those too. And I'm just going to go to, it's the same thing where I would create and then edit the number and the name. Since they're not in the list, I'm going to go ahead just to my revisions now, and I'm going to sort these. So now you can see I've changed and missing. That means that no document was added to those. So I'm going to filter just to my changed, and I'm going to select all of them and change that revision number. Now if I wanted it to be 01, that's great, but if this is the first issuance, or maybe it's not, maybe this is actually issue 03, I'd put that in. I'm just going to call it 00 because I always start with the construction set first when it comes to the contract documents. So, and then whatever that date is, so maybe that date was in the past, we can backdate that to the appropriate date. Maybe that was back in January 21st, and now you're just getting caught up. You can go ahead and indicate that, and we'll add that in. And now we have the documents associated with those. And you can see they're all in draft mode. Now for you guys internally, those are going to show up automatically. You don't have to do anything. All right. So obviously that wasn't a part of that. I'm going to delete it at this time. I don't have to, but I'm going to just to keep it simple. All right, so every listed record document that I have has a sheet, I think. Let me scroll down. Yeah, for what I brought in. Now, that may not be the case, so not a big deal. You can just use your filters to control what you're viewing. All right, now let's talk about packages. I recommend that you use packages to issue out. So I could just select all of these sheets and simply issue these out. I can say issue selected record documents and say latest revision, but I won't be issuing these as a package. It's nice to indicate what package they're being issued out in. So I'm going to go ahead and add a package. I'll go to all packages. I don't have any packages at the moment, but I'll go ahead and create one. So let me see here. Create record document package. And then the name of what that package is. So so that's the CD set that was issued for architecture. And if you want to include other information about it, you can sort by that or filter to it, whichever you prefer. And it's currently draft. And then what are going to be those documents? So I need to add those in. So I currently don't have any in the set. So I click Add, and then I'm going to choose from my set. So now I can just filter to that. So you may have tons of documents here. You're probably going to need to sort by type. So you're going to want to add that field in and indicate that you've got architectural CDs, things of that nature, shop drawings, and other types. Under the type, I use that field quite extensively, but we haven't added in any others except for the A sheets. So since I only have the A sheets, it's easy enough. And I'm just going to select them all and then say OK. So now I've added those in as part of that set. And I can just click OK. Now I can add other information if I want, but I can't think of a reason I need to at this point. So I'm going to say OK. All right, and now I've got that CD set architecture. And when I click on it, it's going to show the sheets that are in it. All right, so that's the current set. Now, one thing this doesn't do, I should point out, it's the set of drawings, so the set of individual record drawings, but this will always reflect what is current. So even when I go to all record documents, the sheets that show up here, it's going to look the same. It's not capturing a snapshot here. The snapshot only gets captured when I issue this, and a record copy is created of this. It's only going to limit you on which record documents show up. So it's almost like just a filter, truth be told, I think. But it's effective because what it then does for everyone else, it issues out that package, and they can simply download that set as an individual package. All right. So now, and then it makes it easy for you because you're clear about what's in that set. And when you go to issue, you don't have to select the individual sheets. You just issue the selected package. And it's the latest document revision. Now, right now, we only have 00, but you mentioned that you have, previous ones. You might want to have a bunch of other ones that you add, and you don't have to issue all of those necessarily. Or if you've added them all, but you forgot to issue them, you can go in and issue out previous revision numbers. Okay, so it gives you the option. But since it's only one, I can just do the latest, and it's also the latest. So that latest record document revision. And then I go through Info Exchange and just put in who it's going to be issued to. So select those individuals or that group that you've created in your project team. CC anyone who you want. It puts in that name from the package for you. And whatever your purpose is, of course, that's customizable. It's going to fill in that information for you. And your description of contents is there. If you need to add in additional fields, you do have some ability to add additional metadata if you need. And any remarks that you might have. And then you're going to do your standard issue by create and transfer. And you can even choose to make it available to anyone that has Info Exchange access. So if they have Info Exchange access, they can access the download of the package. If they have record document access, of course, they'll be able to access those in record documents. Now, even if you don't select this, they would still have access in record documents because that gives everyone access to all issued documents in record documents. So even if you choose this, if someone has access to record documents, they'll have access to whatever has been issued through record documents. Okay, and since I use this for demo on a number of basis, I'm going to cancel that and not issue that. And I'm going to switch over to Alpengrove where it's now been issued, just so that we can look at what then it goes on with that. So now the issued set is made available on Info Exchange, and you're going to be able to come in and report on that. So you can select specific documents that you want to have a report on. If you don't select anything, it'll report on everything in the log view or in the package that you've selected. And so you can create that report. A document register report is generally preferred, and click OK. And that will then show the full issuance of all of those documents. So which sheets were issued to whom, excuse me. So depending on which, what your standard register looks like, because there's a few of them, you'll have your distribution method, who it went to, what sheets were issued, and to whom. So if it's blank, of course it wasn't issued. So we can see that PO1 was issued out, and then 1 and 2 were issued out on 8/23. And you'll know who's accessing those. So under the issuance, you're able to view those in Info Exchange. So going over into Info Exchange for my outgoing transfers, so whatever issuance you create, of course, with any of the transfers, you're able to select those and go to those issuance that you've done and see who's downloaded the documents. Have they downloaded the whole package, or did they just partially download some of the documents if you allow partial downloading? And in this case, I've only got partial downloads. I can select and see that he downloaded sheet A000. All right, questions on any of that?
I suppose there was one thing about approval for issue. We normally have like the design engineer or the certifying engineer, digitally sign the PDFs. Is there a way you can record that through Newformer as a bit of metadata somewhere?
There is. Each record document does contain a change log, and it'll show who's doing what to it, when it was added, etc. Now, you'll note that we do have a revision state that shows this draft. If let's say I'm responsible for the plans, and my team wants to make me indicate once I've reviewed them. I can select those plans. I could do this to just one, but I'll do several at a time. And when I right click on it, so it's in draft mode now, which means it's just been added. And most importantly, it means to new forma that it hasn't been issued, which means that only the internal team can see it. So then I would go in and I can change the field value, and I can go down to my last revision state, and I can go ahead and choose whatever that revision state is that I want. And so let's say I indicate that it's pending approval. That means I've reviewed it, or whatever you want to refer to that as, because that revision state is customizable as one of your keyword lists. And I can indicate pending approval, that I've looked at it, I'm ready to have it be reviewed. Then the QA/QC can go through, look at them, print them out, whatever they need to do their review, and once they're ready, they can come in and indicate that it's approved or not approved. So change my field values, last revision state, and maybe all of them are approved except for one. They need to indicate that one isn't approved. So they can select just the one and likewise indicate that that one is not approved. So I can then go back and address whatever the concerns are. Now they could go and turn that into a markup if they wanted to. So if I come in and select the specific revision, all right, that hasn't been approved. I have my related PDF that goes with that, and so I'm going to want to. I could open that up in a markup, for example, and
You probably just have, can you have permissions just so you can approve stuff? So you just set up all the IP.
oh, that's what I was after. I was after open with new format viewer. So I'm just selecting the primary one. I didn't have to choose below because it is the current one. And they could save that markup here, so they could then go in and mark it up. Indicate whatever that issue is. Save that. It identifies that sheet. Now, Howard is the one that's creating this. He could add someone else if he knows who that individual is. If he doesn't, it's going to be associated with it. So I'm just, for argument's sakes, I'm just not even going to add that in, just to sort of test out some thinking here, because that will link it as a related item. So now in this, I've now got that related item, and they can just look at that related markup and then open that. So in their menu, when they select it, you'll see that option to go to that. So they can open that up in new format viewer or select it over in the markups log. So that would be a workflow that you could use for that purpose to indicate what isn't approved, if you wanted to do it electronically. And then once that's good to go, you can indicate that it's approved, of course. But now when you issue, it's no longer going to say approved. It's going to switch, just like we see in Alpengrove, to that status that says issued. Now, because you have control over your keywords, you can change issued to approved, because frankly, it's understood that once it's approved, it's going to be issued. and if it is issued, it's been approved. So you could change it if you preferred to say approved, but I actually like the issued. I mean, it should be understood that it was approved before it got issued. And you would see that in that change log. So I like that it indicates something beyond approved to note that, all right, we've now issued it, and that there's a distinction between that. So I'm not sure which one I was indicating, but it's keeping track of who's indicating what. So I still have that history regarding those. Questions?
No, I'm just trying to think about how we change what we currently do to incorporate that.
But sometimes we issue uncontrolled drawings.
Yeah. Occasionally we do issue stuff that's like it's just uncontrolled for information only, so you can change that revision state to.
Well, it's still issued.
Yeah, it's not for construction or whatever. You can.
Well, if we can customise our own list.
Yeah, we can customise our list, so it's just a matter of get that revision state we have to work on.
Yep, and just as a refresher, and to let those of you who aren't aware, anyone who is a content administrator or global administrator, they have access to the keyword lists, and you can, that's the revision state, I believe. So we've got someone created an additional one and still called it global. That's not my recommendation, but someone did. They called it states. One person called it state, so that's not a best practice. And you can modify that list and just change those. So note the approved, and I want to point out that there's an action associated with that. So there's draft and then there's issued. So that issued could be modified. So you could call that some other option. It's going to automatically switch to one of those. I would think I can go ahead and add. I haven't done this, but I would think that you're going to be able to add a different one in issued mode if you prefer. So you could have issued, or you could indicate not for construction. But the truth is, I don't usually indicate that it's not for construction here. That is something that I would do when I'm sending that out. But that is where you modify that under the keyword lists. So sort of on that issue of not for construction, I just want to look here with you since you're raising that. If we go to issue these in document control, and I'm going to issue out this package. And then let me ask you this. When you issue these, are you issuing these out with any instructions? Like any type of site instructions or anything like that?
Sometimes yes, but most times you'll just say, here's the full construction set, or here's a set for coordination, or here's a set for information only. I mean, it'll just be in the email generally, or on the transmittal.
Yeah,
box
you can certainly do that if you needed to do it as part of instructions in contract management. When you issue out, you are able to select so that I don't have to go through the workflow. Let me go to Alpengrove, and I'll use an existing one. When I go to send this, I can actually select it. And depending on the status that it's in, everything's as a draft. Yeah, all right, forward for review. So forward that, or send and close it, however you want to do that. So if you want to forward and get some feedback from them, when you go to do this, you can add in from document control. So include files from your record documents or record document package, and then add that package in. And it will issue that at the same time as your formal instructions go out. I just wanted to at least mention that. That's something we'll have to cover separately, but so that you're aware. But you can simply use the functionality within document control to put the remarks in. So that's certainly acceptable as well. But if you need a formal cover instructions as part of formal contract change administration, you can do that. If not, and you just want to give that information when you issue it, let me go over to, let's go back to the one we've done for you. All right, so there's that CD set architecture. We're going to issue that, so issue the selected package. Normally that purpose I would have, for information only here. So that's all I was referring to. It's a little bit different from what you were indicated. I think it's typical that your purpose indicates, is it for construction, is it for information only? And I would actually edit this keyword list, not necessarily the status, the issue status of the drawings. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Just a question. Say you've got a set of drawings and a couple of them are changing their issue. Our current practice is we move them to a superseded directory, but in this case you can't move these federal documents if you lose the link, won't it?
Well, so, you don't really need to move it to a superseded directory because your whole history is saved here in document control. So each time you do an issuance, it's going to save the revisions that you've done. So when we issue out revision 1, that would be a package that gets saved in our record documents. And so I've got that issuance that was done for 1, or if it was just a specific package and it had different numbers in it. Some companies do it that way, that they just keep the numbers sequential. It would be whatever was issued on that date and whatever you called that particular package. So you always have those records.
So, but just from a practical point of view, we'll just dump the new PDF into that directory, and then what, you'll go in there and how do you supersede that and put the new issue on that drawing?
That's correct, but no, I think you'll also, if you're not doing it directly through Revit, I mean, even if you do it directly through Revit, you're still going to be publishing the set to a specific folder, because at least when we're talking about issuing out, record drawings that are fixed, that are official issuances, either the original construction document set or revision 1, revision 2, etc. You're still going to publish those to a folder that we add in. Because remember, when we go to the menu and we add revisions from files, so let me see, there, add revisions from files. When I go and do this, I'm still going to go to a folder location where we've published everything that's being added in. So you'll have that, but that isn't your, as far as I'm concerned, that's not your official record set. The official record set is the record copy. So this is where the guys are going to print to. The team is going to print their set over into the subfolder for issuance. And then when you have revisions come up during construction for bidding, proposal request, approved change order, a conformed set, etc., as it goes through the construction process, they'll create new revisions and put those in a corresponding folder, and you'll add those in. You'll add that folder and you'll go through that process. Now we're going to issue out the new set.
Okay, so
and then Newforma will create a record copy of that, and under each individual record document, you can locate those for any of those. You can choose the specific revisions, and it's going to show those related issuance. So we hadn't issued it, so let me go. Oh, actually, we have issued these. Let's see.
But just so I'm clear, Mark, that we have a directory that's our current PDF directory. The So then Newformer will then copy those files into the record documents directory. Is that right? So does it link to that our current PDF directory, or is it linked to copy the files over to the record document directory?
So record documents will link to that location in your directory, so that root folder that you selected. So you can see here under 01, it's linking over to A for bidding. That's the file that we're linking to here, but what's been issued, a record copy is created for that. And it's not actually linking to that zip folder. So, because it's going to be a mix. Yes?
Every time you do a new revision, are you suggesting that we re-PDF all the drawings and upgrade every drawing, even if we only change one?
No, I definitely not. That's certainly not what I'm recommending. So if I'm just doing one sheet issuance and it's revision 3, I'm just going to add revision 3 and send out revision 3, and that's all that's going to be in the zip folder, and that's all that'll be in the subfolder. So in this case, they had 0.
Okay, so
yeah.
It'll show up on the recipient's screen as a new revision.
basically, Mark, what we have is we have our drawing number, then we have brackets, the issue, which is say 1, then close brackets. So then when it goes to issue 2, the PDF is the same drawing number, then brackets 2. So we just keep on putting them in that directory, and then we relink it to that record document and reissue it as the issue 2 drawing. I've just got to get my head around. Like I said, once we put our drawings in a folder and you create a record document, you really can't ship PDFs, can you? Otherwise.
Well, you could continue having them located all in one folder, but I don't see where the advantage is for you. I mean, if you're going to be using Newforma, because when you want to know what the current one is, this is the source for that information now. And it shows...
Yeah, I understand that, but I mean, physically...
But when you go to add your revisions, if you're... it's going to be more difficult because you're going to have to sort through those. I suppose you'll be able to filter. So if I'm going to issue out a new revision now and create a new package, I would go and add revisions from files. Let me toggle my side menu on. Although I can right click, but just add revisions from files. Now if you go to a common folder for that, I can't simply click add folder. Okay, so you're not separating out into separate folders. That's okay. So you can go add files, and you're going to have to sort out what you're actually adding from the folder. So I'll go to my ECAD, and I'll go to my Y archive where I'm publishing. I'll go to CDs, and maybe I have an approved change order, and I have to add all these. Well, I don't have filters in this, so that means I'm going to have to go through and pick each and every sheet with that C, and that's subject to error. So that wouldn't be my preference, to be honest with you. I'd prefer to have those in separate folders. So if it's issued out as revision 2, it's in a subfolder for revision 2. And you're currently doing that so you can just see everything all in one go. But now your tool with Newforma, if you choose to use it for seeing all of that, is now here rather than the folders. So I, as a document controller, would recommend that method of having them in separate folders.
Yeah, what I'm saying is our current practice of we drag the superseded files and put them in the superseded directory, then we put the new ones in the current folder. But you won't be able to do that because once you link a record document, you can't go moving the file around.
That's correct. You'd break that link. Correct. And you really don't have the need to do that.
Okay, so we'll just have our current directory, and we'll just have a folder which will be reverse state or whatever, and then we'll put the revisions under that. But then you look at it through the Newforma interface, and you'll see the history of it anyway.
That's correct. So it is.
Okay, I'm with you now.
All right.
So I'll just have to tell the guys to do it a different workflow to what we currently do, but that's fine once we know that. Okay. And I think that's a question I've got at the moment. What else you got for us, Mark?
Well, I think...
Can you still provide current revision for each drawing? So if you've got a package or your records set up, can you filter and you want to create a package of that?
That would be
That'd be the old record.
Yes.
All the active record documents would be. It automatically make the others inactive, I suppose.
Yeah. So if I have mixed numbers, do you typically have mixed numbers for issuances?
Yeah, we'll have like structural, hydraulic, civil.
Mixed revisions.
Yeah, and we'll have mixed revisions. So, like, there might be a change to one floor of a building, and you'll only issue a few drawings.
I don't think that there's a problem with that. It will add in that current revision, but I'll have to confirm that to tell you the truth. But I don't believe that there's an issue because we have customers that do both. But I personally haven't actually tested it. So what we would need to do is add in one. So let's do that. So add revisions from files. And let's say we're going to add in, let's add in a file. And that's going to be in this project ECAD.
If we do air markups, does that become a new revision?
If you're going to issue it, it's a new revision. Anything that gets issued
No,
is a new revision.
I do a markup on the file, and I then...
Well, you can do that as a field note. You can do it as either a markup or an action item. You can do it as an action item.
I'm just worried that like, if all of our markups are going to become revisions and we'll end up on the final PDF at revision 23. Because
well, the markup, you can just do it as an action item and say...
Oh, so Aaron says he has done it. He did it by accident, so he's already confirmed it. But I would now go ahead. So that's good. He's confirmed it. So, but all packages, I'd create that new package. Whatever that is, since it's mixed revisions, I'm not even sure what you're going to want to call it. And then add in those sheets.
Oh, okay. So you just create a new package, which is today's date.
And put those sheets within it. So I'm going to need to go ahead and add in the record documents. So and so I could just choose, I think, let me see, do I have my drafts here? Yeah, I think the quickest way would for me to, if you've added them and you have them as drafts or approved, filter to that, and then say these are the ones I want. And you can see I've got 2 and 3. It's not the only way to do it. I mean, you could go directly and just issue those sheets, but I want to keep you, on target with managing this sort of in a very consistent, practical way. So using those packages is helpful. That's what you're issuing out. And yeah, you would now issue that so we can say, oh, whoops, that's not what I meant to do. So let me issue the selected package. And I'm going to say latest record document revision to see what it adds in, because we've got both 2 and 3. And I think intuitively it would add it with those mixed revisions. And let's look at the description. Yeah, 2 and 3. That's what it's adding. And we can see the path of those. So yeah, you can see as-built versus the 2 that are in proposal requests. And then I would just go ahead and continue on filling that out and issuing it. So yeah, that's not an issue. And add your remarks in. So you could add in the instructions or comments that you wanted to. So not an issue, not a concern.
Okay. Okay.
Other questions?
No, I think that's it. The only other question I got is the Revit interface, I suppose, but you probably haven't got time to do that now, have you?
No, we don't. That's going to be a little bit more involved. I mean, the gist of it is that you can actually synchronize from document control for those sheets. So that manual process of adding in all those sheets is now not required. We just create the new record document from your Revit model. But that's going to require a bit more background information, and unfortunately I'll have to schedule that for you at a separate time because I've got to give you the appropriate background because you're going to ask the questions and you need to be armed with what your prerequisites are for setup. It's not terribly difficult, but we're going to need a good 60 to 90 minute session to go through it in total. If we limit it to just document control, we can do it in probably 30 to 45 minutes. But I don't even know what time it is right now. 8:34. Yeah, I prefer that we wrap up if that's all right for today.
Yeah, that's good, Mark, and I'll send you an email and we'll schedule another time.
And that way I can take the Revit users through not only document control, but also give them the other functionality because there's some really useful tools in here, particularly for managing the model, to give a BIM manager or BIM lead on the project a way to sort of keep track of issues when they're noticed right from within the model. And it has switchback functionality, so it's pretty useful for the team.
Okay, well, we'll schedule that. I'm not sure exactly when that'll be because I'm out of action Wednesday, Thursday. I'd
prefer it be next week, frankly. So if you want to pick a day next week, then I'll schedule it.
Yeah, I was going to say next week anyway, mate.
All right, excellent. Well, thank you all for your time. And I'll look forward to speaking with you again. Let me know if you have any additional questions on it once you start working with it.
Okay, will do. And there's a few little IT issues that Chris is sorting out with Dominic at the moment with Office 365, but we'll get through that.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you. And I'll send your recording probably later today.
Great. Thanks, Mark.
You're welcome. Cheers. Bye-bye.